Hello, beautiful ladies. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Alana Palm, Christian trauma release and mind renewal specialist, and I help Christian women overcome overwhelm, fear, frustration, and trauma from a Christ-centered perspective. If this interests you, please continue watching. We have a really awesome topic today, a very deep topic actually, a topic that might not be easy to hear about if you're currently in a situation like this. I will share a little bit about my story, which is never easy for me to share, honestly. I don't know if you ever go through the same thing where you've gone through a difficult situation in life, and even though you've overcome it in a lot of ways, you still find it very vulnerable to talk about the pain of it. So if that's you, I completely understand. Today, we are talking about the difference between a trauma bond and love. And if you've ever struggled in a relationship where you feel overly attached to somebody is giving you a lot of love, but there's also this anxiety that comes up in you around the relationship. And it's not the anxiety kind of from your own stuff, right? Like sometimes we'll have anxiety when we fall for somebody and we're a little nervous as to whether it's going to work out. It's not that kind of anxiety. It's like this walking on eggshells type of anxiety. And you question how healthy the relationship is. And you know you love the person, but you just know there's something really off with it. And I have experienced those relationships in my past in a romantic sense, in a coworker sense, in a friendship sense. It's like I brought these relationships into my life because I was trying to heal something, and I'll explain a lot more about that. But ultimately, what we do as human beings is if we've gone through difficulties as a child, we will often recreate that same situation in our lives to heal that wound. It's like the child in us, our inner child, is actually having the relationship. And it's a very deep topic, so I'm excited to dive into this with you today. We're going to discuss the difference between love and bonding through trauma, how you can see your own situation or any situation you've been in the past more clearly. So you'll be able to sort of differentiate, was this love or was this a trauma bond? You're going to look at how the unhealed parts of you could be causing you to continue living in a cycle of abuse, and the way to recognize a trauma bond for what it is, even through gaslighting. So if you've never heard the term gaslighting, it's when someone tries to convince you of a reality that's not actually your reality. It's not your truth. They're trying to convince you of a truth that's theirs because they want you to see it their way for a specific reason, and it's not a healthy reason. We're going to look at how to go no contact so you can heal yourself. Because one of the biggest things you can do when you're in a relationship like that and it's not based on love is actually walk away from it. It's really hard. And I don't blame anybody who stays in an abusive relationship because I know how difficult it can be to get out. And then if you have any questions, I'll be answering those. So this is going to be really powerful for you if you've ever been in a relationship and questioned, like I did, is this love or abuse? Is this person a narcissist? And what's going on inside me that I'm staying with this person? Why am I always feeling like I'm walking on eggshells? So if you've ever asked those questions, then you will totally understand what I'm talking about today. And I think you'll get a lot from this. So yeah, so a few of you who are commenting are saying that you've been there. So you totally understand what I'm talking about. And sometimes it's a romantic relationship and sometimes it's a friendship, right? These relationships can come up in so many different forms, right? It's just about whether you meet that person who sees that you are the person that they want to target, right? So we can fall back into it. So yes, avoid and don't reach out to the person. Yeah. And Rosemary, so you say that, and I love that because it's so true, but how hard was it for you? If you went through that, was it hard for you to actually get to that place where you didn't reach out, or was it super easy? So if this is your first time meeting me, now I know most of you who are on right now are actually, I know you quite well. But those of you who are watching who are maybe tuning into the replay, my name's Alana Palm, and I'm really like if I were to call myself something, I would say like I'm a victory over trauma coach. And I love helping Christian women overcome the deep pain of abuse and trauma from their past so they can clear their mind of all the negative beliefs they have about themselves and really stand strong and confident in who they are in Christ. Because when we do that, the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. So if we heal that part of us, it's healed across the board. So it applies to our romantic relationships, our friendships, our view of ourselves when we look in the mirror. And when we go through difficult circumstances in life, we react differently to them. So it really just spreads across our entire lives when we heal the wound inside that's causing us to potentially be in a trauma bond. So I have a program called the Set Free Academy, and the Set Free method has 4 pillars. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that falls under pillar 1, which is be rooted in your identity and worth in Christ, which I think is the most important part of all of this is how rooted and grounded are we in who we are in Him? Are we focusing on what we think of ourselves, or are we still marred by the trauma that we've been through and the pain, and are we living from that place? Or are we rooted and grounded in who we are in Him, who He says we are? It's really important. And I'm going to give you as much as I can today. Obviously, we have a shorter amount of time. But at the end, if you feel that this resonates with you and you want to take some next steps, I can talk to you about getting on the wait list for the Set Free Academy. Right now, I'm not taking any one-on-one clients, but I may have some openings in the next month or two. So that's a possibility. And I also have a free intensive coming up that I'll tell you about at the end too. So if you're tuning in, are you ready to learn more about how you can understand the difference between love and trauma bonds? If you are, just put a yes in the comments while I read some of what you are writing. So let me ask you, and a lot of you have already answered this, but if you haven't already, have you ever been in a relationship where you questioned if it was love or abuse? Or if you really wondered, does this person actually care about me? So if you have been through that, just put a Y in the comments, just to differentiate between yes and why, because I'd love to know if you've been in that situation before. And maybe you've been in this cycle of, like I said, walking on eggshells, feeling like you are afraid almost of the person because you don't want to misstep and have them come down hard on you. You just want to make them happy, right? So you end up getting into a cycle of people pleasing or codependencies. A lot of these things come up when we're in a relationship with somebody who is toxic or who we're trauma bonded to. And so the desire and the opportunity today is to look at how we can heal all that stuff from the past that's going on deep down inside us that keeps us in these relationships that are unhealthy for us. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. And, this, like I said, this is probably one of the most vulnerable topics for me to speak on because it wasn't that long ago that I got out of an abusive relationship with a narcissist, and she was a mentor to me for years, and we were friends, and we had a very close relationship, and I really believed that she truly cared about me for who I was. I thought she wanted the best for me. She would come down hard on me all the time, but I thought it was because she cared, because she would tell me, I don't want to have to be so mean to you. I do it because you're worth it and I love you. And I really wanted to believe that. I really wanted to believe there's this woman who I looked up to, who reminded me kind of a combination of Joyce Meyer and Beth Moore. Super strong, confident, had this really tough past, and I just thought she was amazing. So when she wanted to mentor me and be friends with me, I was honored. Without realizing what was really going on for years. I mean, even after getting out of the relationship and going no contact, it still took me over a year to really see the truth of what was happening. And I had people in my life who said, you're being abused, who actually heard conversations and said, this is abuse, who watched the abuse happen and like firsthand saw it happening. And I could not see it. And there was so much more to the story. There were so many more layers. But what I want you to get from that is sometimes we're in these relationships and we want to believe the person loves us. And we don't want to believe that they're abusing us, right? Why would somebody abuse us? It doesn't even make any sense. Now, I don't know if every single person who is a narcissist knows that they're abusing people or if they're just acting from their own wound. A lot, they have their own wound. They've buried a part of themselves. They can't feel empathy. They have this ego self that presents and wants to be fulfilled. They don't want to feel shame. They don't want to feel not good enough. So everything that they do in their life sets them up for success in believing that they're enough and keeping that shame at bay. So I don't know, some narcissists might actually see, yep, I'm totally abusing this person. Other narcissists might just be coming out of their own wound and be totally blinded to the fact that they're abusing us. But the point is, we can recognize it and we have the ability to step away. But a lot of times, because we're often very empathetic or codependent, it's hard for us to step away. We want to help the person. We think that, they'll change, right? But a person's only going to change if they really want to. So when, they say they love us, they say they want the best for us, but then at the same time, they're treating us badly. They're putting us down. And, to go a little deeper into this, we often want that person in our life because they're meeting this deep need inside us. A lot of times as children, we were hurt. Maybe we were abused and we went through trauma, and we meet people in our lives who fill that void inside us. They fill that need that we didn't have when we were young. So it's not actually our mature adult self, this present day self that's in a relationship with this person, so to speak. It's this little girl. It's this part of us that's in a relationship with the person because that part of us is being fed. So it's like we almost are double-minded with it. Our present day adult self, who has wisdom and understanding, knows something's wrong. But our child self is like, I love this. I just want to be loved. I want to be taken care of, right? I love that this person's so interested in me. And maybe that child went through abuse. So it's like, this is normal, right? Being abused and being loved at the same time is normal. And so you can see how people can get into these relationships. Let's talk a little bit about these relationships. So abusive or toxic relationships might seem really obvious as an outsider, like we said already. Constant fighting. We go to them crying. We're not sure. They see us being insulted. They see us getting the silent treatment, or we're completely infatuated with this person and this person is giving us floods of compliments and lots of love, but then they're taking it away. And, we're saying things like, well, this person loves me and only this person understands me. And it's not really all that bad because there is good in these relationships, or else we wouldn't stay, right? These people know how to not just be bad all the time. They know how to give you what you want and then also take it away, right? But we think only this person gets me, right? Have you ever been through that? So why do so many people remain in these relationships in the name of love? So the answer is actually much simpler than we think, and it's the trauma bond. And how a trauma bond forms is through intermittent displays of positive and negative attention. So building up, breaking down. And it's very confusing. And it results in something called cognitive dissonance for the person who is on the receiving end, right? Let's call it the person who's being abused, right? Or manipulated. And this person, this victim, will stay in an attempt to reach this kind of like, you're down here, but you remember that at one point it was up here. So we'll stay because we want to get that part back. We want to get the good part back. And that's why we'll stay. But it's very elusive, right? We don't know when that point is coming again. And, maybe that point for you is affection. Maybe it's attention. Maybe it's validation. Maybe it's a sense of security. But whatever it is, we want that back. But a lot of times in those relationships, we live down here. And we just get little tastes of this, but that's what we're working toward, why we stay in it. And how a trauma bond forms is very gradual. So it's typically kind of the way it comes about is through first a love bombing phase. And a love bombing phase is affection, attention, love. You just feel so special and important to this person. And this flood of positive attention basically establishes the ground for this, or the foundation for this abuser's manipulation of you. It tends to be short-lived, and it's followed, once they know they have you, it's followed by toxic behavior, such as verbal abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, controlling, gaslighting, blaming, shaming, guilting, projecting, all of those things. So basically, when it comes to like a chemical explanation, we have these fluctuations in our like oxytocin and dopamine, and this clouds our judgment as a victim. And a trauma bond is basically like a distorted perception of reality. And it's almost like we live in a fantasy world of wanting this person to be what they're not, because we remember they were like that at one point. And then we're always living in this place of wanting that back, right? And then what happens is they slowly break down our self-esteem and our boundaries to the point where we are almost like intertwined with them. Like we don't know where we end and they begin. And we're being abused by the same person that we're going back to for the validation and the love. And the boundaries are so blurred and our self-esteem goes down so low that we feel like that's the only person who understands us and who can make us feel better. So here's some times or some signs that you would be trauma bonded. Well, really what happens is we get in touch with that part of us that is involved in the trauma bond. So our mature, functioning, grown-up self is not involved in the trauma bond as much as that part of us, that childhood part of us, like you said, who went through trauma as a child and gets frozen in this time and this need that they never had. So let's say as a child, you were loved really well and then abused, and then loved and then abused, and loved and abused, right? As a child, you get into this pattern of confusion and you're unsure, and really at the end of the day, you just want someone to love and adore you. So when you grow up, you find somebody, or they find you, and they love and adore you, and then they abuse you, and they love and adore you and abuse you. You're recreating a cycle with that person that you had when you were young, and it's that part of you that wants the love and attention. The adult version of you, on a head level, understands that something's wrong. But that emotional side of you, that child that's not healed fully yet, that's the one that wants the relationship. So it is harder to see it and get over it if you don't address the childhood need, because that's really where the healing happens. And so what I take my clients through, my private clients through, because I have two, kind of ways to come into the Set Free Academy. There's a coaching track and a mentorship track. So if you're in the mentorship track, then I do a lot of this work with you, this inner child work, internal family system, structural dissociation, parts work. It's really deep, powerful stuff. And it helps you see that part of you and how that part of you is attached, and to heal that part of you, right? So we just kind of grow that up. So anyway, that's a really quick explanation of a very deep topic. But let me tell you some signs that you are trauma bonded. So the first sign is you justify the abusive behavior. So you feel sorry for the partner or the person in your life. You pity the fact that they went through this difficult childhood, and you care about them, you empathize with them, but you also make room for violation of your boundaries. So this basically results in you not being able to uphold boundaries on your part because you're empathizing with the person so much. And that kind of paves the way for an unhealthy relationship. So the second one is you should end the relationship, but you're struggling to cut ties. So you've probably heard the term soul tie. We will often have a soul tie to this person, and we will not be able to break that tie because, like I said, when we're a child and we go through that, trauma as a child and we don't get our needs met, we're getting our needs met in some way by this person. And so it's very, very hard to break that tie with them because we still want the good times and we still are aiming for that point that we were at one point with them. And so if you are in this place of wanting to go no contact with the person, just know that it might bring up a ton of anxiety, a ton of pain, tears. It can be awful. It can actually feel like you're coming off a drug. So if you are in that place of going no contact or choosing to go no contact soon, just know that that will be a very difficult process. And I always encourage people to have someone who walks through that with them, because it's almost like, like getting off alcohol or a drug. Like going no contact, I think people should get coins like they do in AA for going no contact with somebody who's abusing them because of how hard it is. Every day you get a coin, right? I know they have Codependence Anonymous, and I don't know how it works there, but I really think people need rewards daily for going no contact with somebody because I know how hard it is. And so basically, you're looking at how to do that and not have as much anxiety about it, which is where the healing comes in, right? So the next step, the next sign is that you're trying to fix your partner or reignite that love that you shared before. So when you are trauma bonded with somebody, you really want the best for them, right? You empathize with them, you feel for them. And we said that codependency on them comes from those unhealed childhood attachment wounds. But it's also heightened by that love bombing stage in the beginning, right? And so this relationship that seems so wonderful and this person is so magnetic, but really the issue is within the relationship, we know that that love bombing stage, it won't return unless we start to pull away. Once we start to actually stand on our own 2 feet is when the love bombing comes back, right? Or they give it intermittently. So we just never know when we're going to be loved and appreciated and adored and when we're going to be abused, right? And so we're always looking to reignite that love and get that intermittent gratification and hope that it's going to last, but it never does, right? Because that person isn't healthy enough to actually have a relationship that's healthy. And then the next one is that you feel like you're walking on eggshells. So conflict can be present in a lot of different interactions with people, right? But if you feel constantly anxious about upsetting your partner, about doing the wrong thing, about making sure everything's perfect for them or they're going to get angry with you, then it could be a trauma bond. That persistent anxiety tends to go hand in hand with blaming yourself for your partner's abuse, thinking something's wrong with you. And there's a deep-rooted fear or insecurity about who you are and about how you're showing up in the relationship that's not healthy. So those are some signs. Okay, so let's get into how to break a trauma bond. So the first thing is to go no contact. So hopefully, before I go into it, hopefully that gave you a bit of a window into how to know if it's a love-based relationship or a trauma-bonded relationship, because those are the signs, and there are more, but those are the main ones. So if you want to break the trauma bond, now you've kind of seen, okay, maybe I'm in a trauma bond. I don't know for sure, but I'm kind of getting the idea that I might be. And by the way, if you don't see it, that's also okay, because sometimes we don't want to. Deep down, we don't want to see that that person really doesn't love us. For me, I wanted to believe I was that special and that important and that lovable. Because if I was, then I mattered. Then I was enough. And it was very hard for me to face the fact that I was not actually being loved, that it was a sham, that it was a lie, that it was because this person wanted something from me, that I was feeding with supply instead of because they really cared. And that is a really hard pill to swallow. There can be a lot of grief associated with it. So if you can't see the trauma bond, just know that that is very normal. And when you're ready to see it, you will. So how to break a trauma bond? Go no contact. And it's as ideal as it is to go no contact, it is, like I said, the most difficult step you could take. There is no shame on blocking someone on social media or deleting numbers or ignoring those private calls that come through, because you're giving yourself the space you need to heal and to gain mental clarity, to gain safety and security. And basically, you can think of this period as designated recovery time. It's time for you to step back and do your healing work, which is often where I meet the women I work with when they're in this place of that deep healing work and they want support on the journey. The next one is to understand your own needs, right? Because a lot of times when we're with somebody who's abusing us in this toxic kind of relationship, we forfeit our own needs for their needs. And so, we actually get addicted to the person in a trauma bond because they're meeting our unmet needs, right? So, if they're giving us the validation, the emotional connection, or even like that we have some kind of specialness to us, right? That we matter, this is going to make us want to be around them, right? And we feel like our needs are being met. But we get to realize that we have the power to meet all our needs on our own and with God, right? we can cut the ties with that person because we're actually asking that person to fill the void inside that looks like it's shaped like that person, but it's actually a God-shaped hole. It's a God-shaped void that only he can fill. So once we step away from the relationship, I actually will often say toxic relationships or narcissists will give us one of the most beautiful opportunities to heal. If we can actually choose to get out and work on our own healing, we can get to know ourselves and our own needs and heal that inner child in a way that we never have before, because it finally creates enough pain in our lives that we're ready to do something about it, right? So it actually can present a really amazing opportunity for our growth if we take that opportunity to get to know ourselves and just, focus on ourselves, focus on God, and do the healing process. So the next one is to focus on building healthy connections. So a lot of times we can look at our connections in the world, and we can struggle with the ones that seem normal because they're not exciting, right? Like, even if we meet a person, like a guy, and we want to date him, if we've been in a toxic relationship, it can feel kind of strange. And maybe we aren't actually as attracted to him because it's normal, right? And really, when you are able to build a healthy connection with yourself, with God, and with other people, you're focusing on really understanding, how you can be the most secure version of yourself. How do you stay secure in who you are, your identity and worth in Christ, and then create more healthy connections with people based on coming out of the overflow of the love you're experiencing from God and the love you have for yourself. Otherwise, a lot of times we'll get into relationships and we'll be really needy. It's all about us. It's all about what we need, what we want. We think we're giving to the person, but actually we're very blinded by the fact that we're still filling that void, but now we're trying to fill it with this other person a little bit, and then this other person a little bit, and then this thing a little bit, right? So once we get that security in ourselves and build the healthy connection with ourselves, with God, and then we can actually use that to love others well. So the next one is to acknowledge reality. So if you're trying to recover from a trauma bond, you just need to know that it's not your fault. If your partner, your friend, your coworker, whoever it is, your parent, could be your child too. I've known people who've been trauma bonded with their child because their child ended up being very narcissistic, and they would manipulate their mother, right? So I don't know if any of you have gone through that, but I do know people who have, and they've had to go no contact with their own child. Some people have had to go no contact with their parent, right? But just because they're good 20% of the time doesn't mean the 80% of the time when they abuse you doesn't matter. Like, that is actually extremely toxic, right? And so we need to acknowledge the fact that this is what it is, that this is reality. And even though your partner, your friend, whoever it is, might have gaslighted you into believing that this is all normal and this is all part of love, we get to stand on the truth of God, the truth of what we believe in our gut, right? Because our adult self knows the truth. It's just our child self that can't see it fully because it's just, oh, I want my needs met, right? So when we feel desperate to reach out, we need to remind ourselves of the reality of what happened. And I find it really helpful. Like, I wrote a list out at one point a while ago of all the reasons why I left, all of the things that were so wrong with the relationship and how I felt, so that anytime I was tempted to go back, I would read that over. And I would go, yep, no, this is not something I want to be a part of. And that was extremely helpful. Also, ensure that you have a really good support system. So I had a group of about 10 different friends who were kind of on speed dial. I would text them. Sometimes I would text like all of them at the same time and be like, I'm struggling. Send me a Bible verse, send me encouragement, tell me I'm not crazy. And it was so helpful. And they all pointed me to God. I had godly friends who pointed me to the Lord and to what he said about me and the healing that he was going to bring me. But mind you, I was in a very dark time when I got out of that relationship because all my childhood needs were now not being met. And I just felt like I was going to die. Like, it was awful. And that's how it can feel, like, gut level honest. That's how it can feel. So we want to make sure that we have a good support system and a good healing type of program, whether it's a therapist or a coach or whatever it is that is going to help. It's really important to have something that is keeping you focused on the healing and not on the person. Because this is, again, an opportunity to take back your life and stand on your own 2 feet. And you can only do that when you seek God, when you seek the security within yourself through Him. And often having someone on the path with you is going to be the best thing for you. And if you're in a trauma bonded relationship and an abusive relationship and it's pretty bad and you know that there's actually more that you need, call the abused women's hotline, call the support system in your community, call 911, right? Like there are supports for you if you need immediate help. And that's something I really want to mention because you don't need to stay in the relationship if it's abusive and toxic for you. And if you're listening to this and you know that you want a program that's going to help you heal, that's based specifically on Christian principles, biblical principles, but also will include modalities like cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, experiential activities to go deep into your inner child and into all those parts of you, then definitely consider coming on the wait list for the Set Free Academy, because it is a powerful opportunity for you to really stand on your own 2 feet. And if you want to do that, I will actually put the link in the comments to get on the wait list, because currently, like I said, it would probably be open to new one-on-one clients in the next month or two. But right now, the coaching program, which is the group program, is available. The one-on-one, it's hard to know exactly when that'll open up, but I'm guessing in the next month, hopefully. So there's that. And also, I'm going to put a link in the comments because I am running my signature 5-day intensive coming up starting on December 6th. And this intensive is called Experiencing God's Love. And it is all about you getting in touch with your relationship with God and really feeling His love for you, so you can share that love with others. So if that's of interest to you, it's a free intensive. You just go to the link in the comments and sign up. And, I hope you'll join me. I hope you will consider, coming on this path in this group, Confident, Courageous Christian Women, coming into the 5-day intensive, which takes place in this group. And then if you want deeper support, consider the Set Free Academy waitlist, because it could be an amazing opportunity for you to start taking your life back. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this helped open your eyes to trauma bonds and toxic relationships and how you actually can step back, heal yourself, get out of this toxicity, and finally stand on your own 2 feet and see your worth and value in God, and to stand on your identity in Him. And that is my prayer for you. So again, if I can support you in any way, please reach out. I'm available through Messenger, so you can just reach out to me or comment on this post and tag me. If you're watching the replay, I would love to hear from you and hear your thoughts and feelings on this. So thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. And maybe even sooner. So love you all and see you soon. Bye. Thank you for watching. If you felt connected to this content and it helped you in some way, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Also, check the description below for some special gifts just for you. See you in the next video.